right, you guys, thanks for checking in again for another one take wonder. We're going to keep it rolling. That's how we crank out a video a day. Today, I'm going to cover a topic that comes up all the time, the difference between all these confusing drivetrains. You got your two-wheel drive, your four-wheel drive, your rear lockers, your front and rear lockers, and we're going to cover the basics. And I still find myself out on the trail doing mental math to figure out what's going to get me unstuck. But I got pictures. I got my other camera here, and I got pictures, so that will help us to all understand. Now, the approach we're going to take is we're taking the approach of when different drive systems fail, because that will constrain our perspective. Instead of saying what works and what doesn't work, we're going to talk about what works. Favorite experience in a New York deli was with somebody that was ordering things, and they said, I do want mustard and I don't want lettuce. And the guy behind the counter says, don't tell me what you do want and what you don't want. Don't tell me, just tell me what you want. Don't tell me what you do and don't want. So we're going to constrain our perspective, and we're just going to talk about when drive systems fail. All right, so let's jump right in. First, we're going to start out with the standard two-wheel drive system. Now, I got my color coding here. Pink equals power, green equals traction. Okay, now on a standard two-wheel drive system, here on each one of these pictures, I'm going to drive. Here's your motor. All right, okay, or your transmission, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so standard two-wheel drive system drives power to the rear axle to a differential, and then that power is distributed to both rear tires. In a perfect situation, both tires have traction, both tires get power. However, what happens in a standard two-wheel drive system is if this is the only wheel with traction, the power is going to follow the path of least resistance. It's going to go through the rear differential, and it's going to go this way. Path of least resistance. This tire without traction is going to spin, and what does that mean? You in the audience. That's right. It means you are stuck, okay? So you can see in a standard two-wheel drive system, it doesn't take much to get you stuck. One wheel loses traction, you are stuck. You are not moving forward. All right, let's look at a four-wheel drive system. Turning a book upside down. I got to go the right direction. Okay, here we go. Are we lined up there? Yeah, we're lined up there. All right, now, four-wheel drive system. For the sake of this video, we are going to simplify. Now, this rig happens to be an all-wheel drive system. That has different implications. You introduce the notion of a center differential. We're not really going to cover that. I'm going to talk a little bit about it at the end, but we're not going to go through all the permutations of center differential locker. Okay, now, standard four-wheel drive, what that means is, here's your transmission, engine, whatever you want to call it. It drives 50% of the power forward, 50% of the power back. So in a standard four-wheel drive system, both front and rear axle are powered. Now, as with the two-wheel drive system, if only one tire on the back has traction, the other tire is going to spin. The whole back axle doesn't do you any good because that tire is going to spin. Now, say only one wheel on the front axle on a standard four-wheel drive system has traction. What does that mean? You in the audience. That's right. You are stuck. Now, where a four-wheel drive system is clearly better than a two-wheel drive system is that if both tires on the rear axle have traction and only one of your front tires is slipping, you're still going to move forward. That's the benefit of a four-wheel drive system. So if I colored in on this picture here, if I colored in any other tire and gave it traction, you're moving forward, and that's why it's better than two-wheel drive. Let's look at the next option. Now, oh, that's right, my book's upside down. I got to turn it the right way. Okay, now we're going to look at a standard four-wheel drive system. When I say standard four-wheel drive, this is what I mean in this video. It means power is going to the front axle, power is going to the rear axle. It's attempting to drive all four wheels. Standard four-wheel drive system. Here's our engine, transmission, whatever you want to call it. It is sending power towards the back axle. It is sending power towards the front axle. Now, let's take that exact same situation with our standard four-wheel drive. We've got traction here. We got traction there. What does that mean in the standard four-wheel drive system? You in the back, you're stuck. We already covered that. Now, all I have to do in this situation, where we've got a rear locker, is do this. What that means is that power here is going to follow the path of least resistance. I told you guys, all I got to do to get the maintenance folks and the garbage trucks to start moving behind me and start shooting a video. That's true. I'm just going to keep rolling because now I think it's funny. All right. So we got power going to the path of least resistance. Now here, if this was our standard four-wheel drive system, it would go over here. It would be going to the path of least resistance. But guess what? I locked the rear differential. And so what that means is now there is no differential. Power must go to both tires. Must go to both tires. Now it doesn't matter that this tire has no traction. This one does. It's spinning. Now you're moving forward. So now I can have a front wheel, I can have a tire on the front axle without traction. I can have a tire on the rear axle without traction. If I can lock that rear axle, I got traction on one tire, I'm moving forward. And that is how a rear differential locker is better than standard four-wheel drive. Now you guys are going to start doing the math and you're going to start being like, hey, well, standard four-wheel drive ain't all that great. It's good in a lot of situations. It does mean the difference of being stuck and not stuck a large percentage of the time. So it does do a much better job than two-wheel drive. Don't believe me? Try it. Okay. Now, let's go to our final option that we are going to discuss today. This is front and rear lockers. Here's our transmission, our engine, whatever you want to call it. Now, we are driving power to the front axle. We are driving power to the rear axle as per our standard four-wheel drive system. Now, pick a random tire. It doesn't matter. Any tire in the drivetrain. You. Okay. Left rear. Okay. Left rear, also known as driver. Driver side. If you're in North America, internet. Okay. There you go. One tire. It is the only tire that has traction. Well, what's going to happen now? You're moving forward. If you would have said front right or front passenger, here's how we make a correction. Because it's a better example. Okay, if this one had traction, this one is freewheeling. You remember from grade school, when you circle it, it means you're making a correction. Okay. Now, if the front passenger is the only tire with traction, if you have a rear locking differential, what does that mean? Well, you're going to get power to both axles, all right. But what's going to happen? Because both of those tires do not have traction, they're simply going to spin. Now this tire, the pledge allegiance to the flag, passenger, driver's side front tire, driver's side front is going to spin. And what happens? You, ma'am? Right, you're stuck. So, now we add the front locker. And I hope it's clear by now. Now, power must be driven not only to both front tires, but to both rear tires. All four wheels, if you are locked rear, locked front, are going to spin. They must spin at the same time. So if only one tire has traction, you're moving forward. And that is the advantage of a locked or fully locked rig. Front and rear locking differential. Now, it has to be mentioned at this point, when you lock up the entire drivetrain, you have bypassed what differentials do in the first place, and that is to provide different turning rates on inside and outside tires. You can do the mental math, you can think about it. If you're making a sharp turn and you've got a lot of traction on the ground, like you're on asphalt, the inner tires are going to turn less than the outer tires. What happens if you have no differential and your drivetrain is fully locked up? You're going to get tire chirp, you're going to get wheel hop, you're going to get all kinds of suspension binding. It's not good for your suspension. So if you are in a situation on the trail where you need to lock up both front and rear, you are essentially a tank treads, and your drivetrain is going to be under a tremendous amount of stress and pressure. And you might not think you're moving fast enough to damage your transmission, but the thing is, the momentum of a heavy vehicle, well north of 6,000 pounds in my case, just that suspension rocking back and forth can go pop. It doesn't take much before you're breaking stuff. So you have to be really careful. Now, why an all-wheel drive system? I said I'd talk about that at the end. We're just going to touch on it really, really quickly. With an all-wheel drive like the FZJ80, it is designed to be in four-wheel drive on high traction surfaces. And what that means is if you are turning sharply on a high traction surface, not only will your inside and outside tires be turning at different rates, but your front and your rear tires will be turning at different rates. So you need a differential in the center to account for that. And that makes sure you're not getting wheel hop, drivetrain windup, and hopping wheels. That is why you have the center differential on an all-wheel drive system. Four-wheel drive on high traction surfaces. So, I hope that I need pictures. I'm a visual person. I hope the pictures and the breakdown of when a system fails helps to kind of understand what the different systems do. All right, you guys. Hey, you guys, comment. You guys have a tremendous amount of knowledge out there. Add your thoughts in the comments. We love to get them. You guys, of course, hit subscribe. Really helps the channel. Hit the bell. I'll see you tomorrow. I will be here every day for a while. And if you want to give me a video idea, go on over to overlandbound.com/forums. Write a private message or a conversation, as it's known over there, to Michael, Michael, and I'll read through them and get inspired with ideas. And become a member. Join a crew. Overlandbound.com. All right, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.